Have you ever felt that surge of frustration, that immediate, almost involuntary need to defend yourself when confronted with an unfair criticism, a snide remark, or a baseless accusation? It's a primal scenario deeply ingrained in our human experience. Someone throws a verbal stone, and a powerful ancient instinct tells you to immediately throw one back, perhaps a larger, sharper one. You feel an overwhelming urge to justify your actions, to meticulously explain your perspective, to win the argument, to somehow gain the upper hand. But in that very moment, in that reflexive lunge to respond, you often surrender something far more precious, far more vital than the fleeting satisfaction of the last word or a momentary sense of victory. You surrender your inner peace, your emotional autonomy, and the tranquility of your mind. What if there was not just a different path, but a profoundly more powerful way of being? What if the most effective response wasn't a clever retort or an aggressive defense, but rather a deliberate, cultivated act of self-mastery that originates from deep within your character? The ancient Stoics understood with remarkable clarity that true strength does not lie in the superficial ability to deliver a crushing comeback that silences an opponent through wit or force. Instead, they taught that genuine power resides in the unwavering composure, the profound stillness, and the resolute inner peace that can disarm any aggressor without uttering a single word, or by choosing a response so measured, so profound in its indifference, that it simply silences the negativity entirely. This approach is far from passive acceptance or weakness. It is, in fact, a deeply strategic, philosophically grounded, and utterly powerful way to navigate the challenges of human interaction. It is about actively regaining and maintaining absolute control of your emotional landscape, consciously refusing to be drawn into trivial battles that inevitably deplete your spirit, and learning to assert your fundamental tranquility above all external chaos or provocation. Today we will explore not merely a collection of clever responses, but rather a fundamental way of being that renders external negativity utterly irrelevant to the pristine sanctuary of your inner world. Most people spend their entire lives merely reacting to external stimuli, caught in a perpetual cycle of emotional highs and lows dictated by others. Few ever learn the profound, liberating power of consistently remaining calm, silent, and in absolute control of their inner state. If something in today's message has resonated deeply within you, it is not by chance. It is because a stronger, more self-possessed version of yourself is actively trying to emerge, seeking alignment with these timeless principles. Thousands have already discovered the transformative insights and practical strategies inside the silent power, and countless individuals have shared that they wish they had encountered and integrated these powerful lessons years, even decades earlier in their lives. Along with the core wisdom, you'll receive 5 exclusive bonuses designed to accelerate your growth. The silent power reveals potent, timeless Stoic lessons for mastering your most unruly emotions, for building an unshakable and authentic confidence that radiates from within, for commanding genuine respect without needing to utter a single word of assertion, and for developing a formidable mental strength that simply cannot be broken or eroded by criticism, rejection, or any form of adversity life throws your way. The question before you is simple, yet profoundly important. Will you continue allowing life and others to dictate your reactions and internal state, or will you choose, definitively, to start mastering it? Get instant access through the first pinned comment and begin your journey toward true, lasting self-mastery today. The hidden problem, a subtle yet destructive trap that most people fail to recognize, is that their immediate, often visceral, and highly emotional reaction to any form of provocation or criticism is precisely what grants power and validity to the aggressor. When someone launches an attack, whether it manifests as a barbed verbal comment, a passive-aggressive remark, or a calculated psychological jab, their underlying intention is almost always to usurp control over your emotional state. They are, in essence, casting a line, hoping to ensnare your emotions and provoke a predictable response. And when you, in turn, react with anger, with heightened defensiveness, or with a desperate, often frantic need to explain yourself, you inadvertently validate their attempt. You essentially hand them the keys to your inner citadel, that sacred space of your own mind and emotions, thereby allowing them to dictate your mood, to commandeer your focus, and to shatter your peace. This reflexive reaction transforms you into a puppet, dancing to the unseen strings of someone else's negativity and insecurity. You become an unwilling participant in a drama you never auditioned for, losing your fundamental autonomy, the precise moment you surrender to the impulsive urge to retaliate. The true cost of this surrender isn't just a momentary discomfort or a fleeting argument. It is a slow, insidious erosion of your self-possession and your mental fortitude. Each time you permit an external jab to dictate your internal state, you reinforce a pattern of emotional vulnerability and subservience. The Stoics, with their profound psychological insights, taught us that the only true, meaningful battle is an internal one, the continuous struggle for sovereign control over your own perceptions, judgments, and reactions. By reacting instantly, without a moment of conscious deliberation, you essentially choose to lose that battle before it even truly begins. You mistake the fleeting desire for an outward, public victory for the far more crucial, enduring victory of inner peace and self-command. This subtle, often unseen surrender is the first and most significant drain on your inherent power. This brings us directly to a common and pervasive mistake that keeps countless individuals perpetually stuck in debilitating cycles of conflict, frustration, and emotional exhaustion. The deeply ingrained yet misguided belief that a clever, witty, or forcefully delivered verbal retort is the ultimate or even the only viable solution to provocation. We often experience an almost magnetic, irresistible pull to win an argument, to deliver that perfectly crafted comeback that will leave the other person utterly speechless, defeated, and perhaps even humiliated. However, this approach, while momentarily satisfying to the ego, almost invariably serves only to escalate conflict, to solidify existing animosity, and, perhaps most importantly, it very rarely, if ever, genuinely changes the other person's mind or heart. When you choose to engage in a verbal duel, you are, by definition, stepping onto their chosen battlefield, agreeing to play by their rules, using their preferred weapons, and often, without realizing it, stooping to their exact level of reactive aggression. Even if you perceive yourself to win in the short term, the victory is almost always hollow, superficial, and fleeting. You've invested valuable emotional energy, irrevocably disrupted your hard-won tranquility, and likely created a new adversary, or at the very least, significantly deepened an existing divide. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, profoundly warned against this very tendency, reminding us with timeless wisdom that the best revenge is not to be like your enemy. A forceful retort, almost always fueled by a wounded ego and a defensive posture, often makes you precisely like the person. You are attempting to defeat, reactive, aggressive, and entirely bound by external provocations. True, authentic strength is never found in your ability to out-argue someone, to verbally dominate, or to exert external control. Rather, it resides in your profound capacity to remain utterly unperturbed, to maintain your serene inner harmony and equanimity, regardless of the external chaos, noise, or provocations. The fundamental mistake is in believing that external validation, public dominance, or verbal conquest brings peace, when in fact, it often costs you your most valuable and irreplaceable possession, your serene, untroubled mind. You are not fighting for justice or truth in these moments. You are primarily fighting for your ego, and your ego, as the Stoics frequently reminded us, is a demanding, often tyrannical master. So, how precisely do we effectively break free from this relentless, draining cycle of reactive engagement and emotional entanglement? The Stoics offer a profoundly powerful yet surprisingly rarely practiced habit that forms the very bedrock of self-mastery: the discipline of the initial pause and subsequent internal observation. When confronted with criticism, a direct insult, or any form of provocation, our deeply conditioned first instinct is almost always to react impulsively, to defend, to justify, to counterattack with equal or greater force. But the core Stoic practice, the transformative act, is to deliberately create a conscious, even microscopic space between the external stimulus and your internal reaction or chosen response. Epictetus famously and perhaps most succinctly taught, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This intentional pause, however brief, is your moment of absolute sovereignty, your personal declaration of independence from external control. In that brief, sacred interval, you are not merely delaying a response, you are actively engaged in profound internal work. You are observing the raw, unrefined emotional surge within yourself, the anger, the sharp sting of defensiveness, the burning urge to lash out. By simply noticing these powerful feelings, by bringing them into the light of your conscious awareness without immediately identifying with them or acting on them, you begin, almost magically, to disarm them. This is not suppression of emotion, which is unhealthy. This is conscious, detached observation. You acknowledge the feeling's presence. You don't deny its existence, but crucially, you also don't allow it to hijack your rational mind or dictate your actions. This profound habit of pausing provides you with the precious opportunity to consciously choose your response, rather than merely reacting from instinct or ingrained habit. It allows wisdom and reason to intercede where raw impulse and unexamined emotion might otherwise dominate. This practice, when cultivated repeatedly and consistently over time, profoundly trains your mind to become a tranquil, dispassionate observer of its own internal impulses, rather than remaining a slave to their unthinking command. It is the very foundation of genuine self-mastery, subtly yet powerfully transforming you from a reactive participant in life's dramas into a deliberate, sovereign agent of your own cultivated will and inner peace. Most people spend their entire lives merely reacting to external stimuli, caught in a perpetual cycle of emotional highs and lows dictated by others. Few ever learn the profound, liberating power of consistently remaining calm, silent, and in absolute control of their inner state. If something in today's message has resonated deeply within you, it is not by chance. It is because a stronger, more self-possessed version of yourself is actively trying to emerge, seeking alignment with these timeless principles. Thousands have already discovered the transformative insights and practical strategies inside the silent power, and countless individuals have shared that they wish they had encountered and integrated these powerful lessons years, even decades, earlier in their lives. Along with the core wisdom, you'll receive 5 exclusive bonuses designed to accelerate your growth. The silent power reveals potent, timeless Stoic lessons for mastering your most unruly emotions, for building an unshakable and authentic confidence that radiates from within, for commanding genuine respect without needing to utter a single word of assertion, and for developing a formidable mental strength that simply cannot be broken or eroded by criticism, rejection, or any form of adversity life throws your way. The question before you is simple, yet profoundly important. Will you continue allowing life and others to dictate your reactions and internal state, or will you choose, definitively, to start mastering it? Get instant access through the first pinned comment and begin your journey toward true, lasting self-mastery today. Understanding the underlying psychological mechanism behind negative interactions is not just helpful. It is absolutely crucial for mastering your responses and protecting your inner peace. Many provocations, criticisms, and even outright insults are rarely, if ever, truly about you as an individual. More often than not, they are bids for attention, attempts to exert fleeting control, or, most commonly, unconscious projections of the aggressor's own deeply seated insecurities, unresolved issues, and internal turmoil. In essence, these individuals are often operating within what we might call an attention economy. They are desperately seeking a reaction, any reaction at all, because it serves to affirm their existence, validates their perceived power, or simply provides a convenient outlet for their own internal discomfort. When you react emotionally with anger or defensiveness, you are, in effect, feeding this very mechanism precisely what it craves. You are granting them the attention they seek, validating their insidious attempts to control your emotional state, and inadvertently absorbing their projected negativity into your own being. By consciously not reacting in the expected, predictable way, or by choosing to respond with a calm, deliberate detachment, you deny them the desired outcome. You effectively short-circuit their entire mechanism. Their projected negativity, their emotional ball, has nowhere to land because you steadfastly refuse to catch it. Imagine throwing a ball at a wall that simply absorbs its impact without a single bounce. The act of throwing quickly becomes pointless and futile. Your calm, non-reactive presence becomes that absorbent, impenetrable wall. This denial of the expected reaction often leaves the aggressor confused, disarmed, and ultimately silenced, not because you delivered a clever, cutting remark, but because you demonstrated unwavering, sovereign control over your own internal world. You courageously break the cycle by refusing to participate in their chosen game, thereby protecting your precious peace and demonstrating true, unassailable inner power. Consider the powerful example of Zeno of Citium, the revered founder of the Stoic school of philosophy. He was renowned throughout his life for his remarkable composure, his unshakable equanimity, and his profound indifference to external insults and provocations. On one particularly illustrative occasion, a cynic philosopher, well known for his provocative antics and disdain for social norms, sought to publicly provoke Zeno by spitting directly in his face. Instead of reacting with the expected anger, indignation, or physical retaliation, Zeno simply and calmly wiped his face. With characteristic tranquility and philosophical precision, he remarked, "I will not say I am sorry to have annoyed you." His response was not a witty comeback designed to wound or embarrass, nor was it a display of passive anger or hidden resentment. It was a profound, almost surgical, demonstration of absolute inner control. He utterly refused to allow the external act of aggression, however disgusting or disrespectful, to disturb his meticulously cultivated internal state. He did not grudge the aggressor the profound satisfaction of a reactive, emotional display, which was undoubtedly the intended goal. By denying the expected outrage, Zeno not only silenced his provocateur, but also, and more importantly, solidified his own philosophical stance that external events, regardless of their nature or intensity, hold no inherent power over our inner peace unless and until we consciously choose to grant them that power. Another lesser-known but equally illuminating story tells of a young man who relentlessly attempted to insult Zeno during one of his lectures, to which Zeno merely smiled faintly and calmly stated, "I suppose you think that makes me angry." It does not. These examples are not about passive acceptance of injustice or a lack of personal boundaries. They are about making a conscious, deliberate choice not to be internally disrupted or emotionally hijacked by it. They vividly illustrate that the most powerful, most disarming response to negativity, aggression, or insult is often the one that disarms without direct confrontation, that asserts unwavering sovereignty over one's own emotional landscape, thereby rendering the aggressor's efforts futile and their carefully chosen words utterly powerless. Now, let's turn to a practical exercise, a profound tool you can begin to apply immediately in your daily life, the premeditation of evils, specifically adapted for anticipating and neutralizing verbal attacks. This ancient Stoic practice, known in Latin as premeditatio malorum, involves deliberately and mentally rehearsing adverse scenarios to prepare yourself for their inevitable arrival, thus stripping them of their power when they manifest. Take a few quiet minutes each day, perhaps in the morning, to visualize specific, challenging scenarios where you might reasonably expect to be criticized, slandered, belittled, or directly provoked. Imagine, with vivid detail, a colleague making a snide remark during a meeting, a close friend offering an unfair or dismissive judgment about your choices, or an anonymous online comment being particularly venomous and personal. In your mind's eye, don't just anticipate the external event. Consciously feel the initial, instinctive surge of anger, the sharp pang of defensiveness, or the familiar ache of hurt. Acknowledge these feelings, don't try to suppress them. Then, with deliberate intent, choose to pause. Observe that feeling without immediately acting on it, without letting it become a judgment or a narrative. Now, consciously rehearse a response that embodies the Stoic ideals of calm, detached reasoning and unwavering self-possession. It might be a simple, neutral phrase like, "Thank you for sharing your perspective," delivered with a steady, even tone, devoid of emotional inflection. Or, "I'll consider that," allowing the comment to hang in the air without validation, refutation, or further engagement. Sometimes, the most powerful and disarming response is simply a calm, knowing silence, maintaining steady eye contact without engaging in the verbal duel at all. The fundamental goal here is not to win an external battle, but to absolutely not lose your precious inner peace. By proactively and repeatedly rehearsing these challenging scenarios and your chosen Stoic responses, you actively build a crucial mental and emotional muscle. When real-world provocations inevitably occur, you will discover yourself far better equipped to implement that crucial, sovereign pause, to calmly observe your own reactions, and to consciously choose a disarming response that powerfully protects your inner citadel, rather than escalating conflict or sacrificing your tranquility. Through consistent application of these profound practices, you move far beyond merely finding smart responses or clever tactics. What truly begins to happen is a fundamental identity transformation. You evolve, gradually but irrevocably, from someone who is frequently jostled and disturbed by external events, constantly compelled to react, and easily drawn into trivial, draining skirmishes, into a person who embodies an unshakable inner citadel, a fortress of the mind. The smart responses we discussed are no longer just temporary tactics or learned behaviors. They become natural, effortless expressions of a deep, thoroughly cultivated wisdom and an intrinsic self-mastery. You effectively become the immovable object, not out of stubbornness, pride, or aloofness, but because your inner landscape is so profoundly cultivated, so harmoniously arranged, that external forces simply cannot penetrate or disturb its inherent tranquility. Your calm is no longer a performance or a forced suppression. It becomes a fundamental, ingrained state of being, an intrinsic aspect of who you are. This profound transformation means that criticism, insults, and provocations cease to be perceived as personal attacks that can wound you. Instead, they are recognized for what they truly are: mere external noise, irrelevant data, or the projections of another's internal state that possess no power to penetrate or disrupt your inner peace. You are no longer defined or confined by what others say or do to you, but rather by your unwavering capacity to remain in complete control of your own mind and your own emotions. This is the ultimate awakening in the Stoic path, recognizing that true, lasting power lies not in what you say to silence others, but in who you fundamentally become, a person whose peace cannot be disturbed, a true Stoic sage in the making. What is one challenging situation you faced recently where a calm, silent, or detached response could have profoundly shifted the outcome or preserved your peace? Share your reflections and experiences in the comments below. Your insights help us all grow. And if this message resonated, please like this video and subscribe for more timeless wisdom that empowers you to master your inner world. Most people spend their entire lives merely reacting to external stimuli, caught in a perpetual cycle of emotional highs and lows dictated by others. Few ever learn the profound, liberating power of consistently remaining calm, silent, and in absolute control of their inner state. If something in today's message has resonated deeply within you, it is not by chance. It is because a stronger, more self-possessed version of yourself is actively trying to emerge, seeking alignment with these timeless principles. Thousands have already discovered the transformative insights and practical strategies inside the silent power, and countless individuals have shared that they wish they had encountered and integrated these powerful lessons years, even decades, earlier in their lives. Along with the core wisdom, you'll receive 5 exclusive bonuses designed to accelerate your growth. The silent power reveals potent, timeless Stoic lessons for mastering your most unruly emotions, for building an unshakable and authentic confidence that radiates from within, for commanding genuine respect without needing to utter a single word of assertion, and for developing a formidable mental strength that simply cannot be broken or eroded by criticism, rejection, or any form of adversity life throws your way. The question before you is simple, yet profoundly important. Will you continue allowing life and others to dictate your reactions and internal state, or will you choose, definitively, to start mastering it? Get instant access through the first pinned comment and begin your journey toward true, lasting self-mastery today.